As a species, we've always thought of ourselves as being on top of the food chain, and that's true, we are. But is it because of what we are, or because of what we've built, how we've evolved, adapted? Today, we'll look at a title that explores a reality where the gifts of evolutionary growth, intellectuality, even language have fallen upon others and have left humanity quite literally out in the cold, struggling to find their place in a beautiful but harsh world. Through broken glasses, we look at pine. There was a time long ago when we were cold. A lot. So we made fire. It would rain sometimes, or snow, and caves were few and far in between. So we made shelter, built homes, erected villages, towns, cities. We found it hard to see at night when it got dark, and a home lit by fire is a home with an occupational hazard, so we harnessed the planet's energy and created light. We got sick, so we developed medicine. And then we got curious, so we reached for the stars. Skip ahead a bit, and this is where we're at now. This is what it means to adapt, to grow, to evolve in ways that transcend our own biology. Look at what we've built. How often do you actually take it in, its grandeur? Look at what we've learned and what we can do with that knowledge. Now, imagine if we didn't learn. Imagine if things had gone another way. What if, at the pivotal moment where humanity was to take its first steps towards civilization, we tripped? Who or what would then rise up in our place? These ideas are explored in the world of Pine, Twirlbound Studios' story-driven adventure about what would happen if humanity was left behind in the pursuit of knowledge. Pine takes place on the island of Albemarle, a diverse biosphere where survival of the fittest is the painful rule of law. Secluded away on the island is a tribe of humans who have lived peacefully for a time, never venturing beyond their borders and into the out, where other, more advanced species live and roam. People on the island have developed enough to survive, but they're a timid group. This is an agricultural society, not a hunter-gatherer one. I suspect the absence of the latter has resulted in the societal and territorial landscape that defines the experience in Pine. But Twirlbound states that the island will be dotted with history the player can uncover, which will shed light on how things came to be as they are. Bottom line, humanity isn't on top.
Cool work, huh? Yay. A lot of hope for this industry. But there can only be one winner, and that is Pine by Twirlbound at NHTV, Breda University of Applied Sciences.
You play as Hugh, an adolescent boy living amongst this tribe. When your territory is suddenly threatened, you venture outside your borders and into the out, where you've heard tales of a place where humans once lived before. This is where the game opens up and you begin your adventure searching for a new home. Evolution is at the forefront of Twirlbound's design philosophy for Pine. The focus isn't necessarily on biology, but rather on adaptation through augmentation. As Hugh, you can interact with the various species on the island in numerous ways, and these interactions all have effects that can be seen in how the island's inhabitants live. As the game goes on, the player's choices in various matters will greatly influence how a species evolves or adapts to their environment. A basic example can be seen in one of the earliest shown breeds, the Carablin, or the Moosemen. Continuously harass and attack them, and they'll adapt by becoming far more defensive, producing stronger armor. Similarly, if they need to go on the offensive, then those wooden clubs will become lethal stone mallets. This kind of adaptive variation also extends to behaviors and fighting styles, the latter being the focus of my time with the most recent pre-alpha build. The purpose of the demo, titled The Mountain, was to show off how the AI responds and adapts to the player's fighting style as they proceed. I went into this unsure of how it would pan out, since it's very easy to take a vertical slice of gameplay, layer it via the premise of ascending a mountain, and artificially simulate adaptive difficulty by applying more advanced movesets to the AI occupying the upper layers. But that's not what I saw. I played through the demo numerous times, and I was pleasantly surprised to see how seamlessly the AI would change their patterns to respond to my own, even when fighting the same creature and even across different lives. If I was persistently on the offensive, then the AI would hesitate in attacking me, choosing rather to stay back and among their numbers. If all I did was block, then eventually my enemy would decide to perform guard breaks. In the case of the Carablin, that was a forceful kick to the face. One that really took me by surprise was when a Carablin charged me on all fours, presumably as a gap closer in response to my rolling and dodging around in that particular encounter. These adaptations to the player's actions extend even to more nuanced patterns of recognition, such as applying the aforementioned kick in the middle of a sword combo I was abusing. You can also choose to be stealthy should you want to avoid combat altogether. Though rudimentary at this stage and based entirely on line of sight, I was thrilled to see I could approach things this way in the demo, though not every area allowed for it. In the finished game, your successes or failures with a particular race will be reflected. If, for example, Carablin that dual-wield stone mallets have been giving you trouble, you'll start to see more of them, because the AI has recognized them as a necessity for survival against you. What's more, if that Carablin's fur happens to be a certain shade of brown, just by happenstance, then you'll also start to see that more as well. Alternatively, if you're consistently getting away, making off with their goods in the night, then they'll develop better hearing. Creative director Matij Vandelaar described the AI's approach to survival as consisting of two parts, the body and the mind. The body controls the stats, so things like being faster, stronger, or having more health. And the mind is the neural network system, which will try to predict the patterns that the player does. Combat is merely one piece of the puzzle, however, and Twirlbound aims for the finished game to make complete use of evolution as a theory and as a system to govern multiple facets of gameplay and of Albemarle itself. Regardless of whether or not you choose to involve yourself, the status quo on the island will continue to shift. The player can be an agent of change, but you're hardly the only one, though you are the most efficient. The systems that govern your interactions with the indigenous populations also apply to the interactions they have with each other and with the environment. For example, let's say that torrential rains and flooding have driven a tribe of litter from their territory, and that they now find themselves in conflict with a settlement of Carablin over land. As the player, you can stand idle and watch how this all unfolds, or you can weigh your options and conclude that assisting the Carablin will result in a mutually beneficial arrangement, one that can be maintained through cooperation in future conflicts or in resource gathering, at least until a better prospective ally comes along. Migrations and power shifts brought on by nature or by war are happening all over the island, even if the player isn't there to witness them. As I mentioned before, this is a land where survival of the fittest is the rule of law, and the developer is intent on providing the player with an experience where every action that they or the AI takes results in meaningful change, which thus translates into tangible progression. Finally, Twirlbound stresses that this is not a survival game. You won't have needs such as hunger or thirst. The game is about your relationships with the different species on the island and the relationships they have with each other, with emphasis on how those relationships evolve and adapt around the concept of self-preservation. We've really only scratched the surface of what will make up the experience in Pine, but I wanted to focus on the game's core principle of evolution for this video. Adaptive and evolving AI isn't something necessarily new to the medium, and Lord knows open worlds are far from being in short supply these days. But what ultimately attracted me to the project was the narrative at play here, which stands to send a message that translates into an appreciation of not only where we are, but of where we came from. After all, the world of Pine is beautiful and optimistic, which directly comes into conflict with the game's ugly realities regarding survival. It's something to think about.